I just kicked off the recording to get this session started, and I want to welcome you all to the PaperCut and Xerox training today for the Harrison building. Thank you all for joining. We know this is a late afternoon call, so some of you are probably getting a little bit sleepy from lunch. I can definitely say that I am. On the call today, I have Austin, who is going to be helping us with chats. So when you have a question, I'm going to drive those questions to chat. We also have Nanny Reinert from Xerox, who's going to be on chat as well. And so she's going to join in and help Austin answer any Xerox related questions that we can't answer. I also have some on-site individuals here, both Tiffany and Megan, that are going to be here to do some training with you, that we're going to do some on-site kind of demo work for you. So be prepared for that as we get closer to the end of this session. We'll go through that online demo piece, but I'm going to start us off and get us through a couple of different tools. And let's go over the agenda today and kind of talk a little bit about what we're going to cover. For one, we're going to talk a little bit about what PaperCut is. What is it? Why are we installing it? What's it for? What's it going to do for me? We're going to talk a little bit about how you would complete the enrollment process with PaperCut. That is a stepping stone that you have to take in order to enable your account to use PaperCut on these devices. It's something that you will need to do. We're going to talk a little bit about the follow me cues versus the direct printing cues. And y'all are probably scratching your heads going, the follow me cues? What is that? You'll learn about this. This will be pretty easy for you to be able to use. There'll be some really unique advantages. I've actually been using the follow me cue for probably the past, maybe 3 to 6 months, and it's been really fantastic. That's all I use anymore. I don't use any more direct printing directly to the copier. And then at the very end, I said that we were going to do just a little bit of on-site demo training with Megan and Tiffany. So we'll do that towards the end. Just be prepared. This morning, as I was trying to put this presentation together, I came across this little bitty cartoon, and it was really funny because, you know, the more and more advanced these copiers become, and we start adding in access controls with PaperCut and all these other features and tools, well, pretty soon I'm waiting on my photocopier to show up so I can have it make coffee for me while I'm actually printing or in the process of waiting on my jobs to print. So that's one of the unique things that I saw this morning that kind of made me think of this overall training. Hopefully you'll have the opportunity to walk away with a good understanding of how these new devices will work and the changes that you're going to experience when you move into the Harrison building. It's not dramatically different. I will tell you, getting a new piece of technology is always a little daunting and it's always a little bit worrying. But when we go through this process and we get you set up, you're going to get comfortable with these devices. This is going to give you a real good glimpse into what's going on in this space. All right, so let's jump straight into talking a little bit about PaperCut. All right, so for those of you who are very curious and want to know anything about the PaperCut service, we're going to kick you off by visiting our on-site website called it.tcu.edu/PaperCut. And I'm going to go visit that website. That's actually right here. This site's going to go over the differences between the follow me queue and the direct print queue. It's going to go through some on-site training. There's actually even some great videos that'll be online about enrolling and using the old interface that's out there. Now, I will caution you with using the PaperCut site because this site was actually designed for the rest of campus that's transitioning their copiers over to the PaperCut system. You're lucky because when you're moving into the Harrison building, you're getting access to some of the newest copier engines that are out there. So the interface looks a little bit different. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit later today and kind of go over some of those differences. Nothing for you to worry about. The copy button still does the same thing. It still makes a copy, but it will look a little bit different. It's going to be a little fresher, a little newer. So if you watch this video about using PaperCut, be aware that this is really focused much more on the rest of campus and their journey to moving to PaperCut. And you're actually skipping several steps and getting ready to jump straight into the PaperCut family and the new Xerox devices. So know that this website is out here. Again, that is it.tcu.edu/PaperCut. Great website, lots of content. Take advantage of the resources that you have available to you online. Okay, I did skip one step and forgot to actually talk about the ground rules for today. So if you have questions, don't unmute your line. Go in and join and post a question to chat. So I think that Austin's probably already posted some stuff to chat. If you'll notice, he's posted 2 links to chat, how to get to the PaperCut site and the Harrison site. And that's going to pop up on your Zoom menu. It's going to have a little bitty orange icon that's going to pop up that says chat around it. This is where we want you to post your chat. I'm going to say, hello, everyone. And if you see that menu pop up, take a look at the menu. You have the opportunity to pose all of your questions here, and both Nanny and Austin will go through and work with trying to help you answer any questions that you can post online. So now that I've got the ground rules, let me get back to the presentation. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what does PaperCut do? What is it for? Why do we need it? Well, how many of you, and just no raise of hands because I can't see you out there, but how many of you right now are using copier codes when you go to the copier? Well, I can guess if I was looking at the screen today, about 60% of you do, because about 60% of our fleet is using copier codes. Those of you who don't have been very lucky, because when you go to your copier, it just allows you to walk straight up to the device and begin making copies or printing stuff out. Whereas individuals who've been using copier codes, anytime that they walked up to a device, they had to actually type in a code in order to identify who they were, so we knew who to bill them back for. This was in areas where they had shared departmental printers or areas where they wanted to track the printing and usage that individuals were using. And so PaperCut actually replaces the entire copy code infrastructure and allows us to manage the billing processes because it identifies who users are up front. So for the 60% of you who have been using copier codes, the big win for this presentation is that there are no more copier codes. Huge win for so many people. The last time we did a presentation like this, we had some people on, had one woman just clapping. She was so excited about the fact that she didn't have to put a copier code in anymore. I love this too because helping people set up copier codes is not fun. So we're really, really glad about this. It's really a good opportunity to be able to take advantage of this new application. Okay, with PaperCut, you now have the opportunity and freedom to use other devices. So we are currently in the process of rolling PaperCut out to the fleet across campus. Traditionally, in the past, you were normally just able to print to the specific printer in your department or some in your particular area, but you really couldn't go from one copier to the next, even if there was a copier in another department that was next door. Well, in the move to Harrison, in this much more open environment, we're going to want to be able to give you the opportunity to utilize the resources that are there. And if one copier is busy, you can move to another one and immediately transition over, not needing additional levels of access, because PaperCut is now tracking your identity and knows who you are when you move from one device to the next. So the freedom to use more copiers is a huge upgrade with PaperCut. We're also going to be allowing better reporting and web portal access. What do you mean by better reporting, Josh? Because we never provided you anything before. Well, that's true. In this case, you're actually getting the opportunity to be able to visit a website, log into the reporting tool, and see where did your print jobs go? When did you print? What did you print? How many jobs did you print? What copiers did you use? You're going to have access to a lot of additional reporting, and your department will have access to that reporting to be able to see so much more about what's going on in their spaces and who's using what and how it's being used. So a lot more data and a lot more opportunity to be able to make decisions about our printing fleet and how people are managing and using their devices going forward. All right, the other item that's really cool is secure print functionality. So I will tell you, on the previous system before I moved to PaperCut, I would oftentimes find myself printing a job and running the 50 or 60 feet over to where my copier was to make sure that I picked up a job before somebody else saw some important data. Probably not the best process in the world, especially times when I accidentally forgot and left something on the copier, which I really shouldn't have been sharing with someone else. And there was that moment in time that somebody could have seen that information. With PaperCut and using what we call the follow me queue, it's by default set up to secure printing. What that means is that when you print a job, instead of it just printing and sitting out on the copier, which is what most people have experienced in the past, your secure print feature holds the job on the device and waits until you come to the device, you badge in and say, please print the device or please print the job that I just printed here. The reason that's called secure printing is because it's ensuring that the user is at the device when the job is released, and it securely holds on to that information, keeping it from falling into someone else's hands because you happen not to get to the printer in time to pick up this job that you submitted out. The other thing about PaperCut is that the copier is now going to know who you are. It tracks who you are because you're going to badge into the device, or when you try to print, it's going to look at the print server and say, this is Joshua Tooley, or this is Austin, or these are other individuals that that are logging into the system. And so when I try to do scanning or sending to email, it's automatically going to have some really unique things populated for me that are going to make my life a lot easier. I always hated having to go in and do scan to email and having to type my own email address in to send a message to myself. Well, just wait. We're going to show you some demo stuff that'll be pretty cool and make it really, really easier on you when you're scanning a document that you want to send your email. So several really big items when we're talking about moving to PaperCut, a real big reason why we've decided to move forward with this product for the whole campus and not just for Harrison, but Harrison was definitely a big catalyst in helping us make the decision to move forward with a product like this. All right. Let's go on and talk just a little bit about how PaperCut's being rolled out. So this really doesn't matter to any of you, but I want you to understand where we're coming from. Because Harrison is getting all brand new copiers, they're getting to step all the way to phase 3, where we're just doing training and enrollment and showing you how to use the device. But the rest of campus is getting the firmware upgraded on their devices, which was phase 1. In phase 2, we were installing and configuring the PaperCut software on each of those devices and on the print server. And in phase 3, we were going through a training and enrollment phase. So keep in mind, you're getting all new Xerox copiers in the space in Harrison, which is super exciting, getting new equipment. But at the same time, you got to skip 3 phases and go straight to the end of our PaperCut phase, and which is being rolled out to campus. Most of the rest of campus will probably have PaperCut by the end of the year or the beginning of next year. We're in the process of rolling it out building by building. All right, some things to keep in mind. This only affects the new Xerox copiers in Harrison right now, except for 2 buildings that we've rolled PaperCut out to. It also does not affect the HP devices that you may be moving into the space. So we know that there's a couple of departments that are moving some work group HP printers over. Those HP printers will remain active the way that they were before in Sadler, and they do not interface with PaperCut. Only the Xerox copiers, which are under contract that we handle billing with, are the devices that we're going to be using PaperCut for. So keep that in mind. It's one of the little differences. One of the other things that I'll note is that, I've had several people go, well, how will I know as you're rolling this out whether or not PaperCut is installed on a copier? Well, the step in the picture that I've posted on this particular slide, you'll see the PaperCut installed sticker that we've been sticking on all the Xerox devices that we've deployed PaperCut to. So once you start getting used to using PaperCut, you're going to know what Xerox devices, as soon as you walk up to the device, whether or not it's been enabled for PaperCut and is ready for you to use in the same fashion that you're using the devices in Harrison today. So keep in mind, this is a lot of opportunity for you to be able to start taking advantage of new services, but we're not completely rolled out to the rest of campus yet. It is a process or a work in progress. So always look out for those stickers when you walk up to a Xerox copier, because it'll give you a real good idea of whether or not it's quite ready to take on some of the extra PaperCut functionality that we're adding to the fleet. Okay, so let's talk about the enrollment process. So it's 3 simple steps. And one of the things that I've actually got on this slide today is the new ID cards that are going into the Harrison building. This is an example of the new ID cards that people are getting. I don't have a lot of answers on when you're going to get a new ID card or how that's being rolled out, but I'm just letting you know that as part of the PaperCut process, you've got to get one of these new ID cards first in order to enroll in PaperCut. Don't worry until you get into the building. There's going to be things that the ID card is going to give you access to build internal buildings and doors, as well as the copier. So it's going to be important that you have the opportunity to get yours. I don't have details on our information on when it's going to get launched out. So we don't have those answers yet, but just keep that in mind, that that's one of the first steps to being ready to enroll in PaperCut. So first thing that you're going to do is place your Harrison ID card against the ID card reader on the copier, and it's going to identify your card. And that's actually identifying what we call an RFID chip in the card that has an associated number. That number then says, hey, I don't know who you are. Would you like to enroll this card in PaperCut? You're going to go in at that point and log in with your TCU username and password on the device. And at that point in time, it's going to associate that RFID tag with your ID or with your TCU username and password. So now they're linked and you're completely enrolled and ready to go into the system. The other thing to think about is that one of the next steps through that overall process is always ensuring that you have your card with you, because once you've completed the enrollment process and you've gotten in, you're going to have to take your card to the device every time that you want to get in. So that's one note to keep in mind. Every time you go to the copier in the future, you're going to need to make sure to answer that. Give me just a second, guys. We're getting a call from someone about one of the copier fixes that we have. So I got to transition my phone over. Okay, there we go. Austin's got that taken care of. But one of the things to think about is that you've got to make sure to bring your card to the copier every time you want to log in. It's not going to be like the old times when you would just walk up to the copier and you'd be able to get onto the device. You will have to badge in. Now, there are two ways to get onto the device. You can actually manually log in with your username and password, or you can use the really, really easy badging in process, which is basically tapping your badge against the reader and it's ready to go. So we'll walk through both of those processes on the phone and kind of give you some, or on the training a little bit later, and give you an idea of how some of that process is going to work. So I'm going to show you a little video on how to complete the online enrollment. Now, I will tell you, the thing that we reference on here is we tell you to use an RFID sticker that you'll attach to your ID. In this case, because Harrison is getting all new IDs, you don't have to worry about that. So keep in mind, you're just going to use your new ID to do this that has the RFID chip reader built in. You don't have to use these cool stickers that we're going to use for the rest of campus until those cool RFID badges get rolled out to the rest of campus. So let me pull this one up. I'm going to make sure that I've got my screen sharing set correctly so we can share out the video. Okay, good. Got that going. All right. I'm going to pull up the enrollment video right here. It's just about a 2-minute, maybe a 1-minute video on how to enroll in PaperCut. Let me adjust my sound.
PaperCut is a print management software that will handle departmental billing, access code control, and allow for secure printing on a variety of printers across campus. To begin using PaperCut, you'll need to go through an easy, one-time enrollment process. You'll use an RFID tag to badge into the printers. The RFID tag is unique to you, and it's how the printer will identify you, your print jobs, and the appropriate billing department. You'll use this tag frequently, so be sure to attach it to something you'll always have with you, like your TCU ID card, phone, or phone case. Setting up your RFID tag is an easy one-time process, so let's take a look at what you'll need to do. To associate your RFID tag to your account, you can go up to any printer on campus that uses PaperCut and hold your RFID tag up to the badge reader. A message will pop up on the screen that says, "Your card is not known to the system." Press Yes to associate your card with an account. Once you've selected Yes, you will be asked to enter your TCU username followed by your password. You'll then select Enter and the screen will say, "Successfully associated card with account." Press Yes to continue. Once you press Yes, you've completed the enrollment process and you will be able to badge in and use the printer. For more information about PaperCut, please visit it.tcu.edu/papercut. Thanks for watching.
All right, let me close this one out so it doesn't play the next video. Go back over to our presentation. Again, that was a quick 1.5 minute little demo on how to complete the enrollment process. You will not have to use the stickers that we will put out. You will be using your new Harrison badge and you will just against the RFID reader on the device and complete your enrollment. Very easy, but it is a step that you have to take to complete the overall enrollment process and be able to use the copy machine in those spaces. Super easy. I've been doing it. We've had lots of other people doing it. We've already rolled this out to 2 buildings. It's really worked very well and identifies who you are as you're going through that process. Okay, so I played that video already, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break just for a second and ask Austin whether or not we've had any new questions that we need to make sure that we're answering via chat.
We had 2 questions come in. One asked about how long jobs will stay in the queue, and then the other was about student workers and copying. Do they need a staff or faculty member's ID to do that?
Great question. So 2 answers to those questions. One, I believe we have the queue set to hold on to your jobs for 1 day before they disappear. I'll have to confirm that one, and I'll ask Austin to grab the person's name that grabbed that so I could give you that information, but it's either 4 hours or it's 1 full day, and I believe it's 1 full day. The other question about that is student workers. So if you happen to have student workers that need to take advantage of the new PaperCut system, you'll need to have them create student worker accounts and then request that they have access to PaperCut. So all student workers that you have that you want to be able to use the PaperCut or the Xerox copiers will have to have student worker accounts created. You can put in a request through IT in order to create those accounts. And then while you're doing that, tell them that you want them to have access to PaperCut, and we'll walk them through the process of getting the appropriate access, adding them to the right groups, and then moving them towards setting it up and configuring it so they can use the system. So they have to have student worker accounts as the requirement in that case. Any other questions, Austin? Okay, Austin's shaking his head no, so he's telling me let's go ahead and move on. All right, so let's talk a little bit about PaperCut printing queues. So we talked about copying and the enrollment process and physically walking up to the device itself. Now we're going to talk about printing to a copier. There's 2 different ways to print now. In the past, you've basically printed directly to the queue of a printer. So you basically went and mapped the drive or mapped the printer queue, added it to your device, and then beginning using the advanced features on the device in order to print. Well, that process has not changed. You still have the ability to act a direct print queue to your specific device and print directly to that copier. Now, that skips past all these extra cool features that we're adding with the Follow Me queue that allows you to move from one device to another device, and it allows you to do the secure print functionality. So here's the difference between the two. If I was on a direct print queue, it would be just like it is today. I'd print a job and it would just print out on the copier. It does give me access to all the advanced features in the copier, like maybe I want to collate the job, or I want to staple, or I want to create books. So all the cool advanced functionality that comes with a copier would be a reason that you want to continue to use the direct print queues. And when you get your new computer and we finish with the restore team of restoring your data to your computer, that's when we're going to help you determine, do you want the Follow Me queue, or do you want to add a direct print queue based on how your activity and your business process works? The other thing to think about is that you're only restricted to that device alone. So when you add a direct print queue, anytime you print, it's only going to that one device. Whereas the Follow Me queue has some extra advantages. So let's talk about the Follow Me queue. The Follow Me queue will allow you to walk up to any PaperCut enabled device and release your job. Because remember, it holds onto the job securely before it prints. So it doesn't print it directly on the printer when you start. You basically send the print job and you can walk up to any enabled PaperCut device and badge in and release your job. So say for instance, it's really busy in your office one day and you need to get a job printed for a particular meeting that you have. You can actually use the Follow Me queue, print to that job, look around the office and go, I'm going to the copier on the left side of the hall because it's not as busy and I don't have to wait. You can badge in and then release your job from there. So it allows you to make the choice at the output device that you want to use. But it has limitations because it does not have all the extra advanced functionality. It's basically like print single-sided or double-sided, and it doesn't have all the extra functionality that you might see in terms of modifying or sending advanced functions for printing to the printer itself. It's pretty simple, but that's what most of us use. 80–90% of our print documents are just single hit print, and then it just prints out a single-sided piece of paper or a duplex sided paper. Pretty easy, or color black and white. The Follow Me queue will handle that. The other thing to think about that's the huge advantage of the Follow Me queue is getting back to the fact that it has very minimal drivers installed, so it's a quick, easy install. It doesn't have all the advanced stuff that sometimes goops up how long it takes your particular application to print a particular document or process it. And it has the secure print functionality added. So as soon as you get ready to release the job, or as soon as you get ready to print, you walk up to the copier and release the job from there. So that adds additional security. Remember, we're in a much more open working environment in the Harrison, and there's going to be documentation that you don't want mixed up with other things that people are printing, or that you want to be able to choose the printer that you go to. So there's some huge advantages to moving to the Follow Me queue that I think many of you are going to want to consider. But keep in mind, the direct print queue has more advanced functionality, and it just directly prints the job out. The follow me queue, much more flexibility, and the secure print functionality has been added to it. So you're going to have to balance what your needs and your business processes are on a regular basis. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a little bit on my particular machine. I'm going to remote into my PC in my office. Remote into my office, I'm going to show you the two different queues that are here. So you get the idea of what the follow me queue looks like versus the a direct print queue. So I've added the follow me queue here. It was super easy. All I had to do was just like adding a regular printer that's here. I just type in TCU/print SRV01. Once I do that, I could hit F, takes me to the Fs, and right there's follow me. Just right click and connect to that particular device. If I wanted to add the direct print queue, all I have to do is find the printer based on the name of the device. And in the Harrison building, it's going to be based on the location of the building. BHSN will be the location of the buildings that are there. And you'll be able to, at that point, right click on the device and connect. And once you connect to that particular device, it will install the background drivers and add the queue to your computer. So if I was choosing to print my job, and the printer that we're going to do some demo work on is this IT 8055 in the BMC building. If I choose to print to this queue right here, that's a direct print queue. Got all the extra functionality. If I hit print, it just prints the job out on the document, on the device itself. If I choose to print to the follow me queue, remember, it's going to hold my job in the queue and wait for me to go to the copier and release it. So I'm actually going to demonstrate what that's going to look like when you go to the follow me queue. I'm going to open up a Word document. We're just going to do something. I'm just going to say test, 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 and then Xerox. Let's make this a little bit bigger. All right, so now I'm just going to hit print. I'm going to select the follow me queue as my job to print. So when we start doing some physical training on the device itself, they're going to release the job that I just printed to show you what it's like to actually release the job on the copier. So I'm going to hit print. I'm going to wait for that to go through. And once that's finished, that's all I had to do. And I got a warning in this case because I have the PaperCut app installed on my computer, which you can have, that will tell you a little bit more about what's going on with your device and give you access to that full-on reporting functionality. It's not something that you'll get by default, but it's something that I have installed on my computer in this case. So again, the direct print queues will look normal, like you have seen in the past, with the same naming scheme and the same processes. The follow me queue will just be called follow me. And you just have to look under the Fs on the printing share and pull down that particular driver and install that particular device. So super easy, not much different than what we were doing in the past. All right, I'm going to go back over to my process again. So before we get ready to move on to our next stage and allowing us to do a little bit more training on the device, Austin, do we have any more questions? Okay. So no questions from Austin. Austin's feeling pretty good. Y'all must be either asleep or not paying attention to me, or maybe I've just done such a great job training you don't have any questions. So I'm going to move on to starting to talk to both Tiffany and Megan about doing a little bit of training. What we're going to do first is we're going to remote into a machine that's going to show the digital interface of the copier, so you get to see what it's like via Zoom. Then once Megan's done going through that process and doing that training, we're going to transition over to actually filming a specific space and letting them do some physical training for you as well. So give me one moment to transition over to another device, and I'm actually going to transition my headset away as well. So give us 1 second to make this transition. All right, so we're in the process. We're switching over. I'm going to connect into the right device. Okay, everybody still hearing me? We're going to transition this over to Megan once I get this up. Okay, if we can get the interface up like I was expecting. Hold on a second, it might take a moment. I'm actually going to open it back up again. This one's a little bit tricky to get to. So far, so good. Almost there. Give us just a second. Fingers crossed that we can make this one work. It's always a little bit tricky to do it this way. And if this loads, I'm going to transition it over to Megan. Okay, so Megan, you're good to go. I'm going to let you get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joshua. So first, I want to go over with you guys probably one of the biggest differences that you're going to notice from what you guys are used to as far as the copiers and what you guys are going to be noticing now with the new copiers. And that is going to be your user interface, the screen that you walk up to make your copies and scan to email. So it's very tablet interface-like. It's got app-based, very app-based. And if you're going to go in to make a copy, you'll select the copy feature here. And this is the screen, the home screen here is the screen that you'll come to after you've badged into the device. So we'll go into the copy screen here. And you guys are probably used to the tabbing. You have the 4 tabs that you can tab through and find the different functions. And with this tablet-like interface, you're going to just scroll through to find your different options. So here at the top, you can make your selection for how many copies you're going to make. And then you'll scroll down here and you have your output color option. So you can select this to change it to color or to auto detect. You also have the option to do your 2-sided copying here. So you'll have pop-up windows that pop up for you so that you can select your 2-sided to 2-sided option. And the further you go down, the more features you have here that you can select from. Your start button is going to be at the top corner here. Oop, and I just made that copy for us. Now we're going to go back to the home screen. We're going to delete that job because we don't need it. And we're going to jump into the scanning feature. So here is where you'll scan to your email. Since you badged in to the device, it will automatically populate your email address. You can go down and make changes to the attachment name. And just like the copy feature, it's a scroll. So as you go through, you'll find all of your different scanning options. So if you wanted to change it to a 2-sided scan, just like copy, you've got a pop-up window and then you'll select that feature. And again, your start button or your send button is going to be in the top right. And then you can come back home. Now we're still working on configuring the PaperCut apps here, so I'm not going to go into those. We'll probably do a training at a later date for you guys, but just to give you an idea of what you guys are going to be seeing going forward once these new devices are implemented into the field for y'all, into the Harrison location. So now we're going to jump over to some physical training, and I'll show you guys some of the things that are actually going to be a little similar to what your device is, but we'll go through a brief recap for you guys.
Okay, I'm going to allow them to reset the device and start it back at default, and then we're going to start and transition over to another filming device. So give us just a second. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to mute my line for a second. Austin's answering questions via chat. So make sure that you're able to answer or ask your questions there while we're transitioning over. So give us about 15-20 seconds to make this transition. We'll be right back. Now we got it. Okay, awesome. Can you hear us okay now? All right, perfect. So we got everybody up. Now I'm just going to let you see Megan. She's going to go through and do just a little bit of training with you, and we'll get a little bit closer and work through that overall process. So give us just a second. Get started, Megan.
Awesome. So first I want to show you guys how you're going to be able to badge into the copier. So you can either use your badge to badge in, or you can use the keyboard here to type in your user and password. But we're going to badge in since we have that ability to do so today. And like before, you guys see the same exact screen that we went through. So again, very app-based, tablet-like. It's just a touch screen. You've got a couple buttons over here, still your power and your home screen, but this is all very touch screen, and you scroll. There's no tabs that you're having to go search for things through. And then of course you've got that start button at the top. So we'll pop back over to the home screen, and then we'll go into some of the similarities that you guys are going to probably be a little bit used to with your older copiers. So the first thing I want to talk about is your consumables. So your supplies and your toner. You have a sticker here that is specific to your device. It's got an ID number here, as well as some contact information so that you can place any, if you have any service issues or if you're needing to order some supplies, you'll use this sticker here. There will also be another sticker right above this Xerox area right here that'll give you a queue name so that you can associate both the ID number and the queue name to the copier when you place a supply order or a service call. You'll also notice that you have the PaperCut installed that Joshua was talking about. So if you see that, then you know that you can badge in or use that passcode to get into the PaperCut. So I'm going to open this area up right here. This should look pretty familiar to you guys. You've got the toner area, the toner bottles here. This is your drum area that you should be used to, as well as the waste toner bottle. Not much has changed there. And then we'll move down here to your paper trays. So you've got the two top trays as well as the two high capacity trays down at the bottom. These two trays are 8.5 by 11 or letter. And then you can go up to 11 by 17 in these two top trays up here. You can also utilize the multi-purpose tray if anybody has utilized those before, maybe for labels or anything outside of the typical what you find in the paper trays. You can still utilize that here. Keep in mind everything is face down when you place it in this tray. And now we'll move over to the misfeed area. So if you have any misfeeds, you can pop open this area here. This always pops down, so if you don't already have it down, it will pop down. So nothing to worry there. Really, the only thing that you have to worry about in here is this is what duplexes your document. So if you have a two-sided, it flips it around, and this is your fusing unit. So you'll see some green stickers in here that you can pull those misfeeds out if you have any. You also have an area here that we call the transfer unit or the bridge unit. You can just pop that open, and sometimes paper can get stuck going through over to the finisher. You've got one more spot here going out of the finisher. Just pop that open real simple. And then of course we have our staples here. Typically if they're full, they're going to be all the way back, but I just want to kind of show you guys how similar it is. Should look exactly the same as what you guys are used to if you had staples before. Awesome. And then the document feeder here. So just like you did before, you'll place those originals face up. And once that original is in the right spot, this green light will come on and you're ready to go. Awesome. And that's about it, y'all. Everything else should be pretty similar to what you guys were used to before.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. I'm going to transition us back over to ask for questions. So give us 1 second to make that transition over. Okay. So she got us started with a ton of different answers and some great questions. Austin's still managing the chat. And so if you have questions, we want you to pose those questions to chat. I'm going to go back and share my screen again. And oops, there we go. Let me switch back over. Sorry for the feedback as I was transitioning to a new device. I'm going to, as you're thinking about the questions that you have, make sure that you've got some opportunities to move forward with if this training session ends and you didn't get to ask your questions. So remember to escalate your primary contact to your primary contact or department head in your area in order to ask additional questions that are coming up after training, make sure to utilize the information that we're posting on the Harrison IT website. That's where we're posting all these videos that we're doing for training. We've got a lot of update work to do this week after we've done all these training sessions. And we want you to make sure that you've reviewed any of the training sessions. This is actually the last training session that we're doing in this series. We may do some more in the August and September timeframe when the next wave of individuals come in, but we've recorded all these sessions. So if you didn't watch the Ring Central, the collaboration space, or even the training on how to prepare to move, we're going to be posting that stuff on the website probably tonight and putting it out there for you to be able to take advantage of. So Austin, do we have any new questions that have been coming in? Austin's shaking his head. I don't know how none of you have. Oh, new question. What was that question, Austin?
Can the touchscreen on the copier be cleaned between people coming up to get their job?
So that's a great question for our Xerox professionals. So I will let them answer that.
Absolutely.
All right, they're going to answer that one for us real quick.
You can use alcohol wipes to clean off that.
So the thing that I always tell individuals, anytime that you're cleaning electronic equipment, do not spray liquid directly on the equipment. Always apply to a towel or to something that you're using to wipe off the equipment, and then apply the towel because all the liquid and other pieces are already soaked up into the unit. You're not going to be getting extra liquid on a particular electronic device. So be very aware of that, especially in the times of COVID-19 where we're trying to make sure that we're keeping things clean and sterilized. That is an option. Just make sure that you've applied that to some kind of material before you're applying it directly to the unit itself. Okay, other questions, Austin? Man, that's great. Well, so no questions about the copiers so far. We covered a lot of material for you. We really do want to thank you for spending the time to come do this session with us live. Thanks for asking your questions. We will give you a couple more seconds to ask any more questions before you get in. I do want to thank our Xerox team, both Megan and Tiffany, and even Nanny, if she was answering questions via chat. Thank you all very much for being here. We really appreciate all of you doing this training. Make sure to push this on to the individuals that you're working with to ensure that they watch this video as well when we get it posted on the Harrison site. So any new questions not coming in? So I think we're good. Have a fantastic, great afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day, and make sure that your move into Harrison goes well by keeping yourself up to date with all this training. Thank you very much. You'll have a great day.